Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I really wanted to dive into the court cards. I feel like this is such a dreaded topic for most tarot readers, especially the beginner tarot readers. Most people aren't the biggest fan of the court cards, and it's understandable. These are mostly seen as people cards, and they're normally associated with people outside of the client or yourself, whoever you're giving a reading. People normally associate it with people around them, and they definitely can represent people in our lives. But there is another way to read court cards, because often when we're doing a reading, we're looking into one person. So it all depends on your intention, of course, but I like to personally use my intuition. So sometimes I will see, say, the King of Pentacles as my client, and sometimes I might see the King of Pentacles as an action that my client could take, or a behavior or a trait, right? So basically I do want to break this court card series up into a few different videos just to make it easier, and we can just really simplify the different ways of reading the court cards. This video we will be going over the cards as actions, and then we'll go into the personalities of the cards when they're coming in as other people, maybe in a different video in the future. But today I think you can also use these actions as this is a way somebody else is approaching you, or this is a way, someone else is behaving, or you're behaving, the client or the person getting the reading, right? Basically, how can we combine the court, so whether it's a king, a page, a queen, or a knight, with their element? So it basically really helps you read more intuitively, rather than seeing them all as individual cards with their individual meanings. How can we sort of group them via elements and via type of court? So I'm going to turn the camera around and we're going to get into it. Okay, so here we are. Today I'm using my sister's mini Rider-Waite tarot deck. It's a lot smaller than the normal cards, and it just means I can fit more on the video. I don't actually use this deck ever, really. So hopefully the glare is not going to be too much if I bring the cards more forward. So I've grouped the courts off into their suits or elements, and that's how we're going to begin. We're going to begin talking about the elements. So just like numerology, the numbers can play a big role in how you're reading the cards, but also with the elements. And whenever I speak about numerology, the elements play a massive role because they're a big part of reading the minor arcana, as are the numbers. But as you see, there's no numbers in the court cards, but you can use the numerology, because naturally, the page would carry on from 10, so it would be 11, the knight would be 12, the queen would be 13, and the king would be 14. I don't often use numbers when it comes to courts, but I sometimes do. So just never say never, right? It depends how much you like to bring numerology in. But one thing you can definitely use with these cards is the element or the suit that they represent, and then the type of court card that they are. I'll go over that after we've gone over the elements. And it all just sort of comes down to keywords that prompt you, and you allow that whatever comes with your intuition to spring off of that, right? We always start with the swords. I do anyway. And the swords we know represent communication, they represent thinking and the thoughts, they represent the mind. And it's also the first step in manifesting something. In order for something to manifest, we must think of it first, right? So I also see these as like something that has not physically manifested. You know, you have a conversation about something that you want to bring, an idea that you have, that you want to create something. You're communicating that idea, you're thinking about that idea, but then the wands would be acting on that, okay? So the wands we know represent, it's the next step after the swords, after the thinking. It's time to act and plan. Whenever I think of wands, I really think about making plans, taking action, physical interaction, intimacy, all the things that sort of come under that. It's fire as well, so it represents passion, and it's like having the passion. You might think, say your dad thinks when he's young, oh, I like the look of your mom, but he's thinking that, but it's the passion and the lust, right, that would make him act on that. The passion and the lust, they have intimacy, and then they create a baby. So now we're onto the cups, which comes after the wands. So now it's about nurturing. And we know cups represent our emotions, right? So if we're thinking of the human the manifestation of a human, it started there with the thought, the act, and now we need to nurture the creation and begin to care and have feelings for it, right? A pregnant woman needs to be mindful and careful and nurture the baby and herself, right, in her stomach. So that's what the cups sort of represent. It's all about developing that emotion, right? So it's the feelings, how you feel, our emotions. And most of us, even when you're a beginner, you know this about the cups. It's the feelings, it's love, right? And what brings any manifestation like alive is that love. Hi, editing me. I just wanted to jump in here to clarify exactly what I meant about love is what brings things alive. It's feelings, emotions, and caring about something makes it feel more real, makes it feel more alive. You know, even when you watch a film, when you care about the characters, it makes the film feel more real. You're more sucked into the world, you know. And when you start to have feelings for someone, say you've just been dating, when you start to have feelings, everything becomes a bit more real, right? You start thinking, how is this really gonna look? It's much closer to physical manifestation than, say, our thoughts. So then once the baby is born, it has physically manifested. And so when I think of the pentacles and earth, this represents stuff that has already physically manifested, all right? It's fully formed. This is something that is very solid. It's already happening, or it's very likely it is happening pretty much because it's gone through all these other steps of manifestation. A lot of people and myself also think of the pentacles and earth element as like everyday. It represents everyday life. It represents the physically manifested, the tangible, right? Also, people think of money because money, again, is something tangible. It's something that's physically manifested. It's something of this earthly realm. So if you know anything about the tree of life, and you know that at the bottom of the tree of life you have Malku, and that represents, just like the pentacles, this physical realm, this 3D, this earthly realm we live on, and every sphere above that represents like spiritual realms or like internal, right, realms, just like these other elements and suits. Okay, so that's another good way to remember that. And I know this could be quite basic information for a lot of my friends here who have been reading tarot for a long time. This is people who just want to be inspired to look at it a little different, and for beginners. Now we have an understanding what the elements represent, we can look into the individual courts. So we start with the pages. For me, the pages represent messages. So they're like messengers. If they're people, they're messengers in a sense, or students, right? But as an action, they would be messengers. So it's easy now. You just mix it with the elements. We start with swords. Whenever I get the page of swords, it's often a message coming through like text or email, some kind of communication, or speaking even, but more likely, you know, over a message. But it can also, if someone was asking more about their spiritual path, this could be, a spirit guide who's communicating with you through thoughts, through the mind, through downloads. So again, that's mixing the thoughts, the communication with what this is, a messenger. And then with the page of wands, we now have a messenger mixed with, you know, taking action, making plans. So I often get this card, and the message that I get is somebody wants to make plans to talk with you, to meet up with you, to deliver a message. So they're making plans to do that, to come and meet you. And it's like a physical meeting. This is the thing with the keywords you have, you need to use your intuition and the other cards that you've laid down to see what it is that you're getting from this card. Because again, if you're doing a more spiritual reading, you could say like, oh, your spirit guide gives you messages through like this element. So through physical touch, through things physically showing up, and through opportunities coming in, right, for you. And you could also kind of say that for the pentacles, like things physically showing up, right? But the pentacles would be more like, you know, feathers manifesting as a sign of a loved one, or certain birds. But I feel like with this, it would be more like opportunities, like, oh, I just so happen to bump into a person who can now take my hobby into a small business, or something like that, you know? Like, spirit would kind of put you in situations where you can take action. And that's sort of a message coming in. But generally, you know, you don't often, if you're doing professional readings, you're going to be getting more kind of everyday questions about relationships and work and stuff. So for me, this would be, you know, oh, you're going to have a meeting soon, you're going to arrange a meeting. Something that I keep forgetting to sort of mention with the fire element, the wands in general, and the pages of wands as we are talking about now, is the wands don't always necessarily mean something in the physical, because as I was saying earlier, how everything other than the earth element is, it represents the internal. And if you think of fire, it's our passion, right? So it's that gut feeling, it's that, oh, I just don't know, but I'm gonna do this. So that's another way a message can come through fire is, I don't know why, but I just have this instinct. A spirit guide could communicate through the page of wands as just a knowing, like a gut feeling, like I just know this, right? The message could be a very passionate message. It's something that comes spontaneously. Someone's sending a message and it's spontaneous, so they haven't really overthought it, they've just acted on it. With the Page of Cups, again, you've got the messenger and its emotion. So this is like messages of love. This is someone who really wants to talk, they have lots of ideas to share. This is someone who has good positive messages of love. And say if that was reversed, and it goes the same for all these reversed, it's obviously going to be the opposite. Like, you're not going to get a message from this person, they don't want to communicate. You know, this person, they're likely going to be sending you the opposite of messages from love, which could be, you know, breaking up with you or things like that, you know. And then here for the Pentacles, this would be like a physical message, like we said earlier. Also for a spiritual meaning, you could say you get a feeling, you know, you get messages from spirit through your feelings. And here, this would be messages from spirit showing up physically, like we said earlier. But in most readings, this normally sort of shows up as you're going to get the message today, or they've already sent you a message, or you already know somehow. It could be like they haven't checked their email and they have a message, or it could be that it's coming today, they're going to find out today. You can do this however you want, whatever comes to you intuitively. But what you have here is like, oh, the pages represent a messenger or messages coming in of some kind. And often as a tarot reader, you get the question, will I hear from so and so? Will I get a message from so and so? So when I get one of these cards, I'm like, oh yeah, like the message is coming, right? Hi, editing me again. I was just thinking before I wrap up the pages about, okay, I know that there's teachings around what elements support each court card, and I was thinking it must be that the air element supports the pages, right? Especially because of the way I receive the pages and look at the pages as messages. It's a form of communication, right? So naturally the pages must represent air, and I'm feeling really confident about this. And then I've like Google searched, and apparently most people associate the air element with the kings, which for me just feels so wrong. And it just clarifies to me how important it is as an intuitive reader to, you know, really follow your own intuition, right? So for me personally, I would say that the pages are definitely the air element because they represent messages, which is a form of communication. And as we get into the kings, you know, my word for kings is providers, and they're also the last manifestation of the courts. So naturally they're definitely the earth element, the pentacles. I'm so confused how this teaching came about, that the kings are earth and the pages, the kings are air and the pages are earth. To me, that's just so backwards, especially because if you think of it, actually, you know what, not everybody orders their elements the same way I order my elements, but I order my elements air, fire, water, earth. And it's like we also order the directions this way, right? So we know air represents east, south is wands, fire, west is water, and north is earth. So how do those directions go throughout our day? The sun rises in the east and it sets in the west, and it finishes at night in north. So that's the order. To me, it's so clearly the order of things. First you think of something, air, then you act, wands, and then you nurture and love it, water, and then it's physically formed and manifested, earth. What order do the courts go in? Pages. It begins with the page, air. It ends with the king, earth. So I really don't understand where that comes from, where the whole thought process behind the order of the elements that doesn't go in the order that I see it. But like I always say with my teachings, follow whatever resonates the most with you. But I just really wanted to, really confirm that, and not everything that everyone else does means it's right for you. You know, I have over a decade of experience of knowing that this system just works for me. But like, I'm interested to hear your thoughts, and this is a bit of a side rant, and it probably could have just been its whole own video, but I feel like if you're dedicated to finishing this video and looking at why I see the quartz in this way, it has everything to do with the order of the elements. And I just really wanted to clarify that that order isn't just coming out of nowhere. I've not just made it up and decided it sticks with me. It's like, for me, it's so clearly the natural order of things. So please give me your thoughts. If you do think the kings are air, I'd love to hear your like thoughts on that, and you know, argue it in the comments below, because I just like more sense made of it. I feel like often in books it's just like they'll say the pages represent Earth and no like explanation as to why. I think it's always important to question things and make them make sense for you, not just accept them as that's what it means. And that's why this is also another good way to read the tarot, because you're not saying like, oh, okay, I'm trying to think of a general thing. People say, oh, the Page of Swords means, I can't even, because I have my own way of looking at it. I'm trying to think of what's like a general thing people say about the Page of Swords that maybe doesn't fit into my understanding. One sec. So a lot of others are saying that, you know, they'll see the Page of Swords as curiosity, creative ideas, dive in to seek new knowledge and perspectives, which, yeah, it definitely can meet this, but how does that make the page earth element? You know, I don't see the connection with that. And I mean this like with how I see the pages as messengers and messages. Messages are a form of communication which is of the air element. So that's why I'm saying that is connected to pages. So how is earth connected to pages? Is like, do you have an example? I haven't seen this. I haven't done deep research in it, but just briefly when I looked, you know, it's not saying earth element. None of that is telling me the pages are representing the earth element. And how I see kings do represent earth element. They are providers, providing something tangible. Like they've mastered everything to the fully manifested version, right? Which is the final element that you reach is earth, which makes sense for the king. Just make it make sense. I could probably dive in deeper and I would find stuff to represent it. But yeah, help me in the comments below with that. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So here we have movement. Okay, so this is moving energy. Am I gonna move house? One of these shows up. It's happening. The energy is moving. Okay, swords. And if you think how quick you can think of anything in a second, right? So it's really fast. So this is something moving quickly. Again, fire moves pretty quickly, maybe not as quick as air, but it's still pretty quick and determined. So this again is something's going to be happening quickly. It's moving quickly, and we're thinking of actions. So it could be, yeah, you're going to be moving quickly. We have the action and the making plans and the movement. So like things are moving quickly, plans are being made, things are happening, it's happening quickly, right? The Knight of Wands, if it was like coming towards you, it's coming towards you with that fire energy, right? That passion. And I didn't really touch on the Knight of Swords, which would be it's coming towards you with like interest, like they're, you know, that energy is thinking about you a lot. They're very interested in you. They want to communicate with you. But the Knight of Wands like wants some bada boom, like, you know, if it's a romantic interest, they're very physically attracted to you and they're coming towards you in that way. So that's how you can also look at this energy, not just as moving mixed with the element. So every Knight is the fire element. There's always a bit of passion behind it, right? So the Knight of Wands would be very passionate. So I do get that like physical intimacy energy from the Knight of Wands. The Cups move, like they can move at any speed really. I feel like you really have to tune into your intuition with Cups, because water can run quick or it can trickle slow. You do have to use your intuition on the speed of the movement, but you still know it's movement. And again, if any of these are reversed, it's the opposite to movement. It's moving away. This is not moving towards you. This opportunity is moving away from you. But whenever they're upright, we can pretty much determine for our client that yes, things are moving in the direction you want. And this is again moving forward with love. So something's moving forward and it's very emotionally fulfilling. And enjoy the journey, I always think, with the Knight of Cups. And remember, this video is not about the personalities. We can do another video about the personalities for when you feel like this is representing a person. This is more about the actions the quartz represent. So the Knight of Pentacles moves very slowly. Like anything takes a long time to physically manifest, right? Even if I'm like crocheting a blanket, it can take weeks. So this is that kind of vibe. It's the hand crochet of the world. The Knight of Pentacles is moving slowly towards you, but it's very solid and very reliable. It's definitely going to show up, you know, whereas with these guys, they're going to show up, but are they going to stick around? You know, this guy's sticking around for the long haul, and he's taking his time. It's like, I always feel like, okay, it's going to take a little while to come in, but it's coming. When it comes, it's going to be solid, you know. That is a good pro. Even though it's slow, it's very solid and reliable energy. So next we have the Queens, the Queen of Swords. So the Queens for me are influencers, messengers, movers, movement, messages, influencers. So the Queen's influence are thoughts, our actions, our feelings, and our everyday life. The Queen of Swords, this energy comes in, means if your thoughts and opinions and what you communicate has a lot of influence over the situation. Reversed would be more like manipulation, okay? So it doesn't always work out. And we have the Queen of Wands. We say you have a lot of influence over people's actions and over the actions and plans being made. And again, if that's reversed, it would be like, oh, this person's actions are trying to manipulate the situation. The Queen of Cups influences the feelings and emotions. Like, oh, this person is influencing your emotions, or they're manipulating your emotions, or as an action, it's like, use your emotions to influence the situation. Use your mind to influence the situation. Take action in order to influence the situation. So that's it, you know, as an action. And then the Queen of Pentacles is influencing everyday life, influencing finances. So you would say, oh, you have a very positive influence on the financial abundance of the company, or you have your presence has a big influence when you show up. And then as an action, you should be present in the situation. You need to physically show up in order to influence the situation. If you don't physically show up, you can't influence it. And then manipulation would be reversed. So then lastly, you might think, oh, I might have thought that the Kings were the influencers, but the Kings are providers. The King of Swords provides good ideas, he provides clear communication, he provides mental stability, and then reversed would be that you're counteracting that. So, you know, you provide mental instability, or you provide bad ideas, you know, the way that your thinking is not helping the situation, it's taking away. So it's doing opposite to providing. And the King of Wands would be providing. I kind of think of the King of Wands as providing like energy in a sense, or like passion, a proactive approach. So providing like action, providing plans, someone who can organize things and get things rolling. You know, it's all good thinking about that stuff, but the King of Wands is actually going to take action on it. King of Wands reminds me a lot of the Emperor card. Does anyone else get that? So then the King of Cups would again be providing emotional support, providing that emotional stability that most situations call for, safety and nurture, right? And then obviously reverse would be doing the opposite of that. And then we have the King of Pentacles, who is providing physical support, providing financial support, providing safety, again similar to the King of Cups. But this person really like will help you pay the bills, help feed you. So there we have it, the first video of the court cards. I hope that kind of made sense and maybe inspired and helped some of you, especially if you're new to tarot. Let me know if you think of the tarot cards in this way, and the court cards I mean. And if not, like, let me know what kind of actions do you think each of the suits represent, because I'm always interested in learning new ways of doing things. This sort of just came to me while I was sitting down with the court cards a few months ago. You know, like I was like, how do I actually see these cards? You know, I really brought that question to myself. And every example that I've given have been examples that have come to me throughout my career of reading many times, but I actually took the time to figure out a system for myself a few months ago, and I wanted to share it. So I hope this helps, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.